Hello, I'm Dango Rose. Welcome to the Mountaineer Podcast, where everybody's listening. The Mountaineer brings you the latest news of the Peak to Peak region, in print, online, through our podcast, social media, and special publications. Now, listen in to the latest news of the area with our local journalists.
Hello there, everybody. My name is Jamie Lammers, and welcome to last week's Music of the Mentions. Once again, where to be and what to see, brought to you by the Mountaineer Podcast. Finally, tomorrow, I should have this week's Music of the Mountains out, and I should be completely caught up on podcast episodes. Today, let's get into last week's spotlight. Before we get into the interview, let's get into our preliminary announcements. First, if you're interested in subscribing to The Mountaineer to get your news from peak to peak, then be sure to head to our website at themtnear.com and click on the subscribe button in the top right corner of our homepage. From there, you'll get full access to our digital archive and scanned copies of the physical newspaper. And you can choose to send a physical subscription to your mailbox or to the mailbox of someone that you love. If you're interested in getting advertising into the paper and or the podcast, then be sure to email our editor-in-chief, Barbara Hart, at info@themountaineer.com and or myself at media@themountaineer.com and or head to the mtnear.com/advertise to learn what options are available. If you want to be involved in the podcast in any way, shape, or form, we're looking for new voices and DJs to join us for Season 5. So be sure to email info@themountaineer.com or media@themountaineer.com if you're interested in jumping in. And finally, our regular promotional announcements brought to you by The Mountaineer.
Looking for a unique advertising opportunity? The Mountaineer Podcast may be a perfect fit for you. Our podcast reaches local listeners at least 3 days each week. We can create your podcast commercial for you, or you can submit your own. Contact Amanda McDonald for additional information. Her email is adsales@themountaineer.com, and her cell is 720-960-2900. Have you checked out the Mountaineer YouTube lately? We are very excited to have a videographer intern this spring, as well as Clementine Miller, who's been working hard to record some of our local events and meetings to share with you. Go check it out on the Mountaineer YouTube. Have you seen our 2024 Peak to Peak Visitors Guide? We have just launched our 2025 Media Kit for the next guide. Go to our website and click on Advertise to see the full media kit there. Spring is springing, and we all know that means the flowers will be popping out all over the place, reminding us of beautiful art. That also means it's time to start thinking about the 2025 studio tour. Go to our website and click on special sections to view the 2024 guide and prepare yourself for this year's edition.
All right, let's get into today's interview. Our guest this time around, do you mind introducing yourself real quick?
Yeah, sure. You go, Eddie. all the time. You go, Bennett. You start. My name is Bennett. I am the drummer in Joytrip, and yeah, happy to be here.
And I'm Eddie Hochman. I play guitar and I sing and I write for Joytrip.
So this is a very special interview because Joytrip, you did not originally form in Colorado, and you did not primarily perform in Colorado. So I'm interested, where did you guys start performing? How did Joytrip come to be as a band? And what brings you all to Colorado?
Yeah, as a band, we formed in Iowa. We all, like many great bands, formed in college. We went to school at the University of Iowa and met each other there and just jammed. And we weren't a band in college, really. We played some shows, but we officially became a band a couple of years ago, kind of as everybody was leaving Iowa, unfortunately. So at that time, two of our band members, Michael and Eddie, stayed in Iowa City, where we went to school. Our bassist, Mitch, moved to Michigan, and Bennett, moved to Denver. So I live in Denver, and thankfully we're really lucky to be able to travel for some shows, and it's becoming kind of an annual tradition now for all the guys to meet me out here and do a little Colorado run. So yeah, so that's what's bringing us to Netherlands. We're doing a run of 5 or 6 shows in those 3 days. So Friday, we're at the Little Bear Saloon in Evergreen. We played that last year, and it was an absolute blast, and we're so happy to be back. We're going to be doing the City Park Farmers Market in Denver on Saturday morning, Spirit Hounds Distillery in Lyons Saturday evening, Busey Brews in Netherlands Sunday afternoon, and then Skylark Lounge in Denver Sunday night. So jam-packed weekend, literally.
Of course, we'll primarily be promoting the Busey Brew show for this episode. So how is the current lineup solidified over the years?
Yeah, so honestly, it really has formed kind of piece by piece. And then I think so far we've done a really good job of giving ourselves time to develop on things, playing long shows at places that aren't so great to build our way up. But also really in that directly after college time, myself and Mitchell Wisniewski played a lot of music together. We had played a lot of music together throughout college, but we really started kind of honing in on what a sound we really could come together to make was and what songs we like to write together and how a writing process would work together. And then, to be honest, we played with Bennett and Mitch throughout college, but then as soon as we really could find any opportunity, we wanted to play together. And our first show, we never played together. And then that night, everyone flew in. Everyone was finally back in Iowa again. And we played a 3-hour show, having not played together in, I think, at least over a year. But it came together, just the chemistry was there. And that's kind of the beginnings of all of that.
And in regards to all of you guys individually, what are your musical backgrounds? How did you get started in music in the first place?
I think Eddie and I had a similar musical upbringing. We played a lot of music in school. I think that was both of our introductions to instruments. I mean, for myself, there was a lot of music in my house growing up. My parents, my grandparents play music, and my brother is a musician professionally now, so it's always just been around. And yeah, we started playing in band and jazz bands in high school. I think sometimes people tell me that our sound is jazzy, which is never, I think it's never intentionally been something that we've written, but it makes sense that it comes through because Eddie and I that's when we really started honing our crafts and our instruments, was playing in jazz bands in middle and high school. And then throughout, as we got into adulthood, we just kind of formed our own musical interests that strayed from jazz in some ways and got more into the indie and the folk and the rock and the jam bands. And yeah, I think something that's really interesting in our band is that we all have kind of unique influences that come together to form a pretty singular sound, I think, that, yeah, spans from jazz to folk, singer-songwriter type to some hip-hop influence to, you know, we try and stretch out and jam on some songs. So yeah, really a wide range of influences. Eddie, I don't know if you want to say anything on that.
Yeah, I mean, well, you said beautifully, but I love what you said about coming together to make a singular sound, because it's actually something that I write when I'm trying to communicate with venues or with newspapers, that we have an eclectic electric sound, but I do think that can often make it sound scattered, where I think, in fact, the opposite is true, that it is more singular and focused like that. But I do think in terms of the backgrounds, I was chatting with Michael the other night about this, that even as our backgrounds were different, Michael grew up playing rock shows. He played, I think, the House of Blues in Chicago when he was like a sophomore in high school with a band, and he was touring in New York and in Chicago and right after high school. But Mitch grew up playing jazz saxophone, and I went to college and played classical trumpet, and it's all kind of coming together, but it doesn't really sound like any of those things. But even since there, it's changed now. Mitch is learning bluegrass mandolin, Michael's producing electronic music, Bennett's playing guitar. It's all kind of fluctuates, but I do agree that it doesn't come off scattered. I think it comes off singular. I like that.
So how have you guys been able to hone your sound over the years and find the sound that you particularly want to focus on?
You take it, Eddie.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I mean, I think agreed it's kind of ever changing, but there are certain things that have a real through line in terms of where the band is trying to focus the sound. I know just really tight playing, like playing really well together and everything, even audio-wise, sounding really beautiful and kind of coming from a good bass line in that sense, are spaces that we always want to have that through line with. But then even actually we have an EP coming out the weekend that we'll be playing at UC's, and that EP features a lot more acoustic elements and a lot more harmony singing and a lot more space than I think we've left in a lot of our music that's out on streaming right now. And so it's kind of fun to explore those spaces. Like I think the EP coming out would be more along those lines of like a Pine Grove or a Joni Mitchell or a Brandi Carlile. But we have a whole handful of more dark electric songs that are probably going to be coming out later in 2025 or 2026 that have a little more of an Arctic Monkeys kind of Strokes sound, if that makes sense. Thanks for letting us just ramble on about it all.
Before we started this interview, I also heard through the grapevine that you guys are releasing a new EP. Is that one of the reasons you're coming to perform in Colorado? For timeline context, this interview was originally recorded on May 6, 2025.
Yeah, the EP comes out on the New Music Friday that we land in Colorado. So this run is definitely to promote this EP. I mean, this run of shows is to have fun and share our music and spread some peace through the music. But yeah, we're hoping that people like what they hear and go check out the EP. Yeah, happy to talk a little bit more about the EP if that's the direction we're going in.
I just wanted to add to that too, that the EP is I know the set will be playing at Busey's in Netherlands, an acoustic set. And I know we're all very excited and looking forward specifically to that set because the EP is very acoustic centered. And I think a lot of the songs are really going to come through in that setting.
Totally.
Well, the new Music Friday that this EP comes out on happens to be the day that this episode has come out. So that's right. Joytrip's brand new EP is available everywhere now. Do you guys want to talk about that EP?
Yeah. This EP has... This EP has really come together as a concept EP more than I think we knew when we started writing these songs. The EP is called Leaving State, and it's more or less become about us all leaving Iowa. And like I said, we didn't go into writing these songs with that intention, but that is the situation. Eddie's moving out of Iowa, and Michael will be soon as well. So we're leaving the state that the band formed in, and it just so happened that a lot of the songs that particularly Eddie and Michael were writing just were influenced by that idea of leaving the place where they've lived for so long. And yeah, I think because of that, the EP has a very acoustic, folky, Midwest-inspired sound that definitely sets this release apart from our previous songs and releases because a lot of our previous stuff was, rock music. It was meant to be danced to and jammed on, and this EP is definitely quieter and more maybe thoughtful and emotional. And yeah, Eddie, I'm curious what you'd say about it.
No, I think you hit on a lot of really the points. I do think, even to highlight just what you were talking about how the songs weren't written like this. All the songs are written a little bit by everybody and a little more by some people, and they did really just come together to make one pretty cohesive idea, which it's always nice to release an EP or an album with, I think, a collective theme, not just a handful of songs that were all meant to be put out at the same time. We live in a very single-oriented world, which is okay, but then better to release something that has some cohesion versus 4 singles as an EP. And I also think, Bennett, you were talking about the kind of acoustic Midwest energy of the EP, but I do think it'll be great for summer and spring when it comes out, but I do think it'll be really great for fall. Like, it definitely, to me, even the album art is going to be kind of brown, and I think it'll be great for fall and walking, all those good things.
So the name of this new EP, Leaving State, came from all of you guys leaving the state that this band formed in and that you're most used to living in together. I'm curious, did the band name Joytrip come from a similar starting point?
That's a good question. They're not related, but probably not unrelated. I don't know. But yeah, no, I don't think super related, but related in the sense that I think both the name for the band should be something that people can say and latch onto and understand. And then similarly, like the title of the EP just spoke to what this music was about and what the music was going to feel like.
Yeah, I've heard from people who have listened to our music that they say it goes great with a road trip or with driving, which is cool. That's very cool. But yeah, the name is, we wanted to invent a word, right? We wanted our band to be a new word. And there are a lot of kinds of trips out there. There's ego trips, power trips, drug trips, road trips, all sorts of trips. But we want our music to represent a joy trip. So that's kind of where the name came from.
In 2024, Joytrip released 3 standalone singles, Let Me Lay, Slush, and Oh No. Based on what you were talking about earlier, it sounds like these songs will stay as standalone singles, and they are not on the EP.
No, it is all 4 brand new songs, and it's certainly wild out, but we have a lot more even after that coming. But yeah, they're all new songs, and I think really complementary to the music that's already out, especially those singles. A lot of them were written in the same time, but yeah, all new.
And what have you all loved about being able to perform together, especially when you travel to perform together?
I mean, I am just so inspired by live music. I think I speak for all of us in the band when I say that studio music is awesome, but we just love live music and the spontaneity and the curiosity and ability to kind of wander and try new things and see how they land with people. And we love being in the audience for live music, and to get to be the ones putting on that music is really just something that we feel so grateful to be able to do. So yeah, I mean, it's really cool to be able to connect with people around the country and play with local acts. We're playing with some local Denver acts at the Skylark, and it's just a really fun way to travel and meet people and also just see our friends and connect with this group of people that we love to be creative with. And yeah, that's kind of what I would say. I don't know if you have anything to add, Eddie.
Agreed, yeah, to all of it. And also, I do really think because we're kind of in different places and there's some fluidity there, that we do really, really appreciate the time that we have when we get to play. Even in the weekend that we're in Colorado, we'll be playing, I think, over 10 hours of music live for an audience. And just, I know that we wouldn't have it any other way. You know, that's kind of, what are we doing? You know, what else are we going to be up to? We're very appreciative of it.
Is there anything that you hope people will take away from your shows or from your music?
Yeah, I think especially just in terms of being at a show, like Bennett was saying, just being in a space where there's live music is very, I think, comforting to us and a lot of people. And there is just nothing like going to a bar or a brewery or even like a venue space is awesome. But if you're there and there's live music and people who are really taking the time to work hard and be there and have put the thought and the time and the care into what they're doing, we really care about the music. So we really work hard to make sure that it's really good. I know that seems straightforward and simple, but it's the truth. But yeah.
My thought on that is that especially right now in a time of, it feels cliche to say uncertainty, but you know, a time of a lot of troubles for a lot of people, a lot of war, and just a lot to be really bummed out about. There's just nothing like the feeling of being at a show and dancing and talking to a stranger. And yeah, like Eddie said, I just feel so lucky that we get the opportunity to be that source of joy for people. So while I kind of am answering your question of what else beyond joy, I think that's really why we do it, is we've gotten to hear so much music from so many incredible and talented people that just makes us smile and forget about the world. And also, you know, inspires us to be better people and do things about all these injustices that we're seeing. So not to say that we're going to solve the world's problems by playing shows, but if we can provide any of that to people, then I feel like I've done my job as a musician.
Agreed. And I you heard it here first, folks. We're going to fix it. But I do really think I heard that art is how you decorate space and music is how you decorate time. And that, yeah, just like Ben was saying, just very appreciative that we can do that. And that we're the best we've been at it. We're working hard, and so it's just getting better, which is pretty exciting.
And yeah, in general, is there anything else about the upcoming Busey Brew show or Joytrip as a band or anything else that I forgot to ask about that you want to add?
I think certainly at least one thing would be, or two things on it, but one is that we talked a lot about the EP, but something we didn't really talk about was that it's all home recorded and home produced. Mitchell Wisniewski, our guitarist and vocalist and writer, we all help in the recording process, but he does the producing. Bennett could speak more to that than I could even, but the production has really been stepped up since our last set of recordings, and it's really exciting to hear that progression too. And also, I think the whole process and the whole working together, even from afar, it is really just like a family business. Like all of our partners are usually around helping and making art and helping make posters and taking care of this and that and hosting people. It's just one place to put it. But a lot of times I'll write that it's a collective, because it really is. It's a lot of people coming together more than just the four of us to make a lot of cool stuff happen in weekends and shows and all of it.
I love that. I don't think I have anything more to add.
In that case, I think those are all the big questions I have on my end.
And yeah, we're really, really appreciative of you for having us and for asking us thoughtful questions. Eddie and I often joke about when we do get the chance to do interviews, which we're always really happy to do, it tends to be the same 5 or 6 questions. And you have asked us some new and really lovely and thoughtful questions. So I really appreciate that.
I really appreciate that. And I want to thank Bennett and Eddie for coming on board and joining us for the podcast to promote their upcoming show at Busey Brews, located at 70 East 1st Street in Nederland. If you want to see Joytrip performing an acoustic set to celebrate their brand new EP, Leaving State, then be sure to head over to Busey Brews on Sunday, May 25th, 2025, starting at 2 p.m. For more information about the band and to find their music, be sure to visit their website, joytripband.com. And remember, Leaving State is now out wherever you get your music. Thank you all so much for tuning in to last week's Music of the Mountains. I promise tomorrow I will have this week's Music of the Mountains out and then officially be caught up on the podcast schedule. In the meantime, if you want to share this episode or others around with whoever you see fit, then be sure to head to the mtnear.com and scroll near to the bottom, or head to our podcast's main hub at the mtnearpodcast.buzzsprout.com. And from there, you'll be able to see a full archive of all of our episodes. If you're interested in being involved in the paper and or the podcast in any way, shape, or form, then email info@themountaineer.com or media@themountaineer.com, and we'll get something sorted for you. And finally, be sure to head to individual descriptions of our podcast episodes to find our primary links, our website, our Facebook, our Instagram, our YouTube, and of course, the podcast's main hub. Through those episode descriptions, you can also send us a text and give us general or specific feedback about anything involving the Mountaineer. We'd love to hear from you. I'll see you guys tomorrow with this week's Music of the Mountains. Have a great rest of your day.
And that's it for our show. Subscribe online to get more access to more news, weekly updates to our community calendar, and a link to our YouTube channel by visiting themountaineer.com. Be sure to use the coupon code PODCAST when subscribing for a 10% discount, only available to our listeners. If you are in the local peak-to-peak area, be sure to pick up a print edition of The Mountaineer at a local business. I'm Dango Rose. Thank you for listening.